Okay, we are live. Trying again. I just did a live stream and it was finished. Like YouTube finished it for me all of a sudden. Yeah, wonderful. But we'll talk about something different now. Hopefully, this live stream will be visible. Hopefully, people will be able to see it. And hopefully, YouTube will not just end the live stream for me. Now it looks better now, actually. Um, Hi there, Carola. Sotunar, good morning. So, two ways to end the middle class. I'm sure there are more ways than two ways. But because we are seeing two distinct different ways to end the middle class right now in front of our eyes, let's talk about those two methods. Okay. And this is one of my videos where I make myself unpopular among both the right and the left, which is a special talent that I have. And people say that, if you're a centrist or if you're... I'm not really a centrist. I'm just trying my best to look at things with an objective mind. But people say, oh, if you're a centrist, you're a coward. You're too cowardly to take a side or to take a stance, which is an idiotic thing to say, because actually, if you are a centrist or if your objective mind makes you appear as someone kind of in the middle, you're hated by both the left and the right. So so it's, yeah, okay. Two ways to end the middle class. Now, the first method, the first way to do it is very simple, and we are seeing it in, let's stick to Europe and North America. That's the areas that I know the best. Okay. So the first way is what we're seeing and have been seeing for a while in Europe. I would say both the EU countries in Europe and the countries in Europe that are not part of the EU. And a way to do it is to tax people into oblivion. Now, the middle class is kind of in the middle, right? And poor people or people with a low income, they're not really, at least in Norway, they're not really taxed, relatively speaking, they're not taxed very high. Very rich people, like people with millions in the bank or, big houses, very, very rich people, they are taxed very high. But they can pay the tax and still be left with enough money to have a life in abundance and wealth. Okay. So let's say if you have 10 millions and the state takes 5, you still have 5 left. Okay. So you would be kind of okay. You could say that's not fair, and I would agree, but you would nevertheless, you would be left with 5 million, so you would be financially okay. What about those who are not poor and not very, very rich? That's the middle class. That's the middle class. And they are taxed very high in, well, Norway is extreme, of course, but they are taxed very high in other European countries as well. So you never get to... I have to sneeze, I'm sorry. The sneeze will come very suddenly. Uh, sorry. So it becomes, because of the taxes, it becomes very difficult to build up generational wealth. And sorry. Oh. And generational wealth is what the left, they don't like that. Oh, it's unfair. But if you're a parent, you would probably have a different opinion. Like, I'm I worked hard, much too hard, sadly, most of my life. And that's because, not because of me, but because of my kids. I have two children, and I want them to as I want them to be less dependent on working themselves into stress and all of that than I was. So I want to leave money for them. I want to give them money now and help them. Um, and that's, I think that's how most parents are reasoning. It's natural. But it becomes very difficult to do that. It becomes difficult to build up wealth when you are taxed into oblivion, like with an insane amount of tax. So that's how you crush the middle class, you know, with taxation. It's the traditional way to do it. Okay. There are many more aspects to it, but mainly it is the taxes that are crushing the middle class. And now someone would say, "Oh no, it's not that. It's the prices. It's inflation." And it's, well, what's the main driving force of inflation in a Western society? It's taxes. Because not only are your income taxed, but everything you buy is also taxed. That gets added to the cost of everything you buy, and the tax on the companies is also added to the price on everything you buy. Okay, so this is very basic economic theory. Um, okay, what's the other way to do it? Well, there are many other ways, I'm sure, but the other way that we are seeing now, ending the middle class. Hmm. Trump is doing it, and that's the part that people don't like. So I'll see if there are any MAGA people left here. They're probably left the channel by now. um, if you go back in history, um, to the time when you had kings, well, we still have kings and queens. Do we have queens? Um, I don't know. But we have kings, they don't have any power anymore, but they are just a waste of money. But anyway, back in the time when you had kings, they would give stuff like land, castles, and things like that to their friends, you know. And the best example, I think, is William the Conqueror, who basically, when he conquered England, he said, 1066 and all of that, and he said, I want to have someone to count every asset in this country down to every chicken, right? So that he had a full a complete list of everything of value in the country. And basically, he just said, okay, all of this land here that I can see and everything around it, I'll just take it and I will give it to my friends. It's a simplification of world history right there, but yeah, the Doomsday Book. But that's basically the best example I can think of right now of how to end the middle class, because that ended the middle class in England back then, almost 1,000 years ago. Uh, in the USA now, it's extremely interesting what is happening there, because we are clearly seeing an oligarchy that is, well, there is still a democracy there, but you're basically seeing the rise of an oligarchy where the oligarchs um, they are grabbing power. They are the ones given land now, as William the Conqueror gave land to his friends. Trump is basically giving his donors market shares and domination in their businesses and things like that. It's a development that is happening very fast, and it looks like it's decimating the middle class. Now, there are many other aspects to this, but I think it is worth mentioning that what's happening in the USA now is not benefiting the middle class. And this is not a popular thing to say. That's okay. I mean, this is something I'm saying now because maybe this live stream will pop up half a year from now, and then the people who would then be writing hate comments now, they will be watching it and say that, oh yeah, well, yeah, that guy was actually right. Not because I'm brilliant, but because it's so obvious. And it's a clever way actually to do it, because it's not obvious. It's not obvious. You can say that this is for the working people. This is for the tariffs. It's to make America great again. Um, and a lot of people believe that. But it's not for the people. It's to benefit certain big companies within the country, and that's not the people. It's not the same as the people. Um, so I thought that's worth mentioning. You know, and I know it's being mentioned there. The World Economic Forum. That's actually a third factor here. You have the World Economic Forum, you have the EU, you have the uh, uh, World Health Organization. You have also, of course, these forums like the Bilderberg Group. You have the uh, when they meet in Davos. This is undemocratic, and it's a way that where these globalists are basically just taking power away from the middle class and placing it in the hands of their friends and donors, and you have to buy your way into those clubs, right? um, so yeah, that's absolutely a factor. very much so in Europe, um, and very much so in the USA as well, and in Canada, of course. um, let's see here. Um, Dirtman says if we can supply the increased demand, tariffs will be a success. If not, we'll have bigger problems. Well, obviously there are more that goes into it. You won't be able to supply the demand, um, but there are more things that go into it, and one of those things is that a country need foreign investors. The USA need foreign money, need investors investing in USA registered companies. What has happened now? I know the stock market increased yesterday a little bit. That's good, but it created an uncertainty, which makes the USA now to go up on the list of risky countries, risky stocks. It's a which is not something that will go away in a few days. This will stick for a long time, and that's probably more harmful than the tariffs increasing the prices in the USA. There's a lot of psychology going into that, so it was a very foolish thing to do. And the idea that, oh, we do this because it's fair, it's fear doesn't come into the equation. That's not how it works. And it's not difficult to tell you. I can tell you what tariffs will do to prices in a country, because we have very high tariffs in Norway on certain goods, like I mentioned before, cheese, a few 100%, actually. And what it does is that's to protect the farmers in Norway, because they can't compete with the big farming companies in continental Europe and so on. And the result is very expensive cheese in Norway. Okay. So the main point, I think, is that we're seeing the middle class being targeted by people in positions of power. And there are at least two ways to get rid of the middle class, as we have now discussed. And we need to ask why. Why would they want to get rid of the middle class? Of course, they won't say that, but that's what's happening. Calypso Kins says Trump is helping the middle class. Again, I don't know if you're being ironic or not, but okay. I I disagree. Oh, you're not being ironic. Okay, yeah. No, I disagree with that. But why is this being done? That's the interesting question here. And you can even say that you can even pull the argument that what we're seeing in the USA is the rise of fascism. And I will say that, yes, it certainly does follow the development of fascism in, for instance, Italy. But saying that it's fascism is a little bit, at least it's not that yet. But but it's a simplification as well, because again, you're seeing the same but with a different method, so to speak, in um, more leftist leaning European countries. That's like the UK. The UK is a very good example, um, and it's do they have a middle class anymore? Every, everyone from the UK that I'm talking with, they're struggling. They are struggling, and I think that there's a lot of wisdom to be had if you listen to people in the UK now, because they have realized that it doesn't matter if you vote for the Conservatives or Labour, Tories or Labour, but because the result was pretty much the same, um, and um, and why? Why? I have some ideas. Um, Again, when it comes to Trump, Trump is not important. Well, he's in a way, but Trump is more a symptom of what's happening and what probably would have happened anyway. That's my guess. um, but you have to look at the economy as a whole, and you have to look at the living standard. And I think one idea that is very easy to sell is that if you lower the taxes, then it will be good for the middle class. Well, that alone is, of course, good for the middle class, but there are many other factors coming into this. If you do other things like, well, tariffs, for instance, it's basically taxes. So you're taking taxes away from companies and putting more taxes on the people. um, So again, why? I mean, we can discuss all day long if the middle class is being eradicated in the USA under Trump, but I'll give the people who disagree with that. I'll give them this. This is not something that Trump did. It's been It's a development that's been going on for a long time, but it's certainly not getting any better now. Okay. So when it comes to the whole Trump thing, I'm not sure what I believe here. I thought he was not an ideologue. I thought he was more like just a businessman doing businessman stuff. But I'm starting to think that decisions are being made, and I hope I'm wrong here, in the USA now based on ideology. And if that is true, you're in for everyone in the USA is in for some proper beating for a long time. And the result is over there, as it is in Europe, um, a decimation of the middle class. And why? Why? Um, why is it happening? I think. Thank you, Laura. Laura, yeah, you think he's an ideologue. Um, yeah, I hope not. Um, but anyway, now I've said this before. It should come as no surprise that I personally believe, and you know, many other people as well, of course. I'm not brilliant for saying this, but I believe that we are moving towards something very similar to feudalism. Something very similar to feudalism. And it won't be feudalism exactly as it was in the medieval age. It will be, but the main characteristics of feudalism will be there. And I'll just mention some of them, the most important ones. People will not be able to own things like their own house, apartment, car, like expensive stuff. They won't be able to buy that. They won't be able to own that. Because if you, and it goes like this. Back in the day, dad went to his sorry, dad went to his job and made money, one income in a family, and that was enough to have a car and a house. And then you had to have two incomes, which is the situation now, or up until some time ago. And now, not even that is enough in many cases. So we're moving into a system now where you won't be able to buy stuff like a house and a car. And to add to that, everything now is rented. Like your software is, you have to pay a monthly fee to use Photoshop and things like that. And yeah, so okay, so you won't be able to own stuff. Also, in feudalism, you are also not able to build up generational wealth. I think that's the most important part, actually, because in feudalism, you have generational poverty. You have people, most people, being born into non-ownership. So they will be born into a life where they will be working, but they won't ever be able to rise above their social class, right? And I think that's where we are now in many countries, at least the UK, you know. So okay, we'll keep it a little bit short today. Yesterday I listened to an interview with a woman that now listen, Calypsokins. I'm not saying that Trump does. I'll read the comment. Okay, wait, Bjorn, are you saying that Trump does not want you to own anything? That's nuts. So, first of all, Calypsokins, please consider your words. That's nuts. You don't need to say that. It kind of makes you look a little bit, yeah, you know what I'm trying to say here. And I didn't say that. I'm saying that what's happening in the USA, and Trump is not the USA. Trump is part of the whole thing that's happening. I don't know what Trump wants. I don't know the guy. And I don't know, I don't think that he is as dictatorial as people think, by the way. I think there are other people pulling the strings there. Let's face it, he's an old man, and he is not all. It's becoming clear that he's not 100% right there, if you know what I mean. Nothing like Biden, who was senile, nothing like that, but oh, come on, you know. But anyway, yeah, so I think we are in some countries already in the West already in feudalism, and I think it goes much deeper than just what is called techno feudalism. This is this goes hand. What goes hand in hand in this is actually things like 15-minute cities, that you're not supposed to drive a car, that you're not. Well, they used to say you can have an electric car, but now they're saying you can't even have an electric car. And you know what? You're going to have to work uh, more more years, so until you are 70. That's what they're talking about now. Um, and then they're going to increase that, and they will be saying that, oh, it's because people are getting older now, so we can't have that this long period of time at the end of people's life where they just get the pension from the state and all of that. No. Um, so so you're going to have to be a worker ant, and for that you'll have a life with some kind of comfort, but no wealth, and you won't be able to build up wealth for the next generation. That's what it looks like now. Can we get out of that? Yes. Yes, we can, but then you need to step out of the system. Um, I, this interview I watched yesterday was like this. I think an American woman who, she was unlucky with her savings, and she was now 70. She is now 70, living in her car. 70 years old, living in her car. But she was happy about that. She was happy because now, finally, she could. She wasn't always struggling with the money to pay the rent and so on. But you know, when you're 70 years old, you shouldn't have to live in your car. I mean, you shouldn't. If you worked your whole life, you paid your taxes, you shouldn't have to live in your car. It I she seemed happy. She said that she was happy. She was in the van life community and all of that, which is great. But no, shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be like that. Um, so that was just, it made me quite sad, you know. If you're in your 20s and you don't have kids and you're single and you want to travel the world, then it's, in that situation it's great. Yeah, go and have fun, drive around, and see the world, you know. But not when you're 70. um, Not when you're 70, you know. But I think it's going to happen more and more, um, because people can't afford to pay the rent. Um, People are struggling. And I saw a question here, about the Norwegian middle class. The Norwegians are, relative to other countries, Norwegian middle class is still in existence, and we're not struggling so much, but we are also, and here comes the difficult word, in indebted country in Europe, last time I checked. which is it's a ticking. I don't know if I can say the word here on YouTube. BOMB, you know. So yeah. Oh, you watch her? Yes, she has a this 70-year-old lady. She has a YouTube channel apparently. Um, let's see. Is there a? Did you mention the channel name? Um, now, oh, Clouds and Sky YouTube. Okay, is maybe that okay? Maybe that's her name. Okay. Um, Clouds and Sky. Wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, you know what? I will go and subscribe to her channel because maybe she makes a little bit of money. I don't know if it's a large channel or not. Hopefully, it's a large channel, and hopefully, she makes some money from her videos. Yeah, Brent says, so many land and so many resources. It's not logic people has to suffer. All the money on the trade markets and people living in their cars. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Um, yeah, Sirima, I agree. Maybe she was not a good example of the point I'm trying to get across here. You are writing, driving around the country is not homelessness when you have a YouTube. That's modern back nowadays. It's a job. Yeah, okay, but you get my point. Um, um, Hotep says, I used to think I didn't have to completely leave the West, and now I'm thinking about it more often. Even going to South America might not be the move. Yeah. Um, People have, since the beginning of human history, have moved when they had to. It's not like we have to stay here. Well, actually, um, I forgot to mention the exit tax. So if you have a company, I think it's only when you have a company, but maybe I'm not sure. No. Is it also if you have like money in your private bank account, stuff like that? I don't know. But okay, so the exit tax is what we have in Norway and in some other countries. So they tax you they take almost half of your assets if you move to another country, which is, I don't have the words to describe it. Um, Robbery. That's the kindest word we can use about it, I think. So now, I think I have to mention. Okay, so I have to mention that the people who argue for that exit tax, you know what they're saying? They're saying if you get rich and wealthy in Norway, it's not because of your talent and hard work. It's because of Norway. It's because of it's because our the system that the social democracy have built up for you. That's why you became successful here, which is nonsense. But yeah, um, but okay. um, Steph is asking, will they tax me to exit this life? Steph, I hope that you're kind of being funny there, but we need you here. First of all, that's what I need to tell you. Yeah, joking, but it's no joke that there is actually a death tax. Like they when your kids inherit, if you do manage to build up some wealth and your kids inherit, they will tax that, which is grave robbery. So yeah, okay. But I have to go now. I hope you enjoyed this little discussion. And do check out my video on the main channel. It's linked to in the video description. Not many people have watched that, the recent video that I uploaded last night on the main channel. Okay, have a wonderful evening or morning. We'll talk soon.